And why is this airport in this location as opposed to any other location in the valley? Just curious.
So this is just historically has been the airport, and I'm not 100% sure on the history, but I know it's existed for a long time.
The original airstrip was hole 1 on the north course.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was moved about 60, 70 years ago to the current location. Giuseppe.
And Nelson, you, from the finding of fact that the staff presented to the finding of fact that we see presented to us, am I correct that 2 were changed? And finding number 2 and finding number, the one about the noise, I forget which number.
Yep.
I wanted to understand finding number 2. It says that, actually finding number 1, I apologize. You, the staff said the proposed use does comply with the growth policy because it complies with the use of rural area versus the Community Development Board unanimously focused on the fact that one of the goals of the growth policy is preserve and protect scenic vistas and view sheds. Mm-hmm. So how is this defined? Where are the vistas defined?
So it's in the growth policy under the future land use goal. They're not specifically defined in the growth policy. It says preserve and protect scenic vistas, views, and view sheds. But after, there's a note in parentheses that states that no work has been done to establish what these are, and there's been no definition as to what that means.
So was that the key reason why the Community Development Board unanimously denied that?
That was a talking point at the Community Development Board meeting. So I kind of summarized what their points were and articulated that through findings 1 and 6.
Thank you. Then I have another question. Say the developer decides to stick to the use by right. Could they build a barn that is 35 foot high and as big as this hangar?
So yeah, agriculture is a use by right in their WA zoning. So for example, if this was a farm, they could build a 35-foot tall barn without a conditional use permit.
So how do you respect the vistas in that case?
So it would not be under that level of review and analysis because it would not be a conditional use permit. So building permits, that would just be a building permit, and those are not reviewed by the City Council or Community Development Board.
Thank you. And about finding 6, the proposed development is anticipated to have a negative neighborhood impact as noise, dust, smoke, odor, and other environmental nuisances are expected with the expansion of an airport. So right now, the airport has tie downs. Transients can fly in and out. It's a public airport. Helicopters can fly in and out. They can fly into any helipad. But the Community Development Board determined that by putting a hangar there, the noise, odor would be increasing.
Yes, there was concerns over noise through the hangar use. That was discussed by the public and echoed by the Community Development Board.
Is it okay to discuss without a motion on the table,
Please.
Mr. Mayor? Okay.
Your prerogative.
I'd love to address some of the comments with some legal facts. Our airport, 58 Sierra, that's the identifier of the Whitefish Airport, is listed in the FAA directory. And I read from the airport facility directory, the runway 1129, those are the cardinal directions of the 2 ends of the runway, is 2,560 feet long by 70 feet wide, and it's turf. So that's defined this way in the FAA directory. But runway 11 has a threshold displacement of 278 feet due to trees. So 270 feet of those 2,560 feet cannot be used to land in that direction, which is towards the east, okay? So landing towards the east, pilots can only access 2,200 feet worth of strip. I wouldn't even call it a runway. Airport remarks it's unattended, snow removal is intermittent, and parachute jumping is allowed. So parachute jumping means that a plane typically comes down, lands towards the dog park, then does a nice U-turn, washing behind the prop, stops, loads the jumpers, then takes off, overflies to 13,000 feet above Whitefish because that's where they want to jump, and lets them jump and keeps doing that. Pattern altitude. It's exactly 1,000 feet above the ground. Now, the FAA forbids any flying unless it's government, within populated areas below 1,000 feet above the highest point within a 2,000 feet radius of that point, or 500 feet above non-populated area. Now, there is a big caveat to that, unless when maneuvering for takeoff and landing. So obviously, I have to be below 500 feet if I'm landing or I'm taking off. Hence, if I sit with my house in the path of landing or takeoff at an airport, I will expect having planes flying very close to my roof. Then let's talk about night operations. There are no lights in the airport, although any private pilot could decide to fly at night. It's their own risk. My insurance won't cover me. My insurance would even cover me flying into that airport with my plane. So it's a typical backcountry airport. I flew into Whitefish and I enjoyed it when I was trying to fly in Alaska because it's a backcountry strip, because it's grass. You can fly in it with Piper Cubs, Cetabrias, tail draggers, some bigger ones if you want to ruin your plane. As a private pilot or a commercial pilot, I will never park my plane overnight in Whitefish. I mean, we read bicycles are stolen, e-bikes are stolen, cars are broken into. A plane is even more valuable than a car. Now, these are discussions point because, Mr. Mayor and City Council members, I have to say ahead of time that I attended the Community Development Boards, 2 of them, and I accidentally spoke too soon. I spoke that I would support a unanimous vote of the Community Development Board. So on this issue, I will have to abstain.
Council comments? Giuseppe, how about you start tonight?
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. Personally, not as a city council member, but as a citizen and a pilot, I'm thankful that this council considered the backcountry aviation community as important to this community. So thank you.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks, Giuseppe.